Welcome to all of you virtually. It's terrific to address you all today. This is I woke up at 3 a.m. to find out that the C-SPAN website was not active because Amazon Web Services had a big outage last night. So all of us were struggling throughout the night as websites, even Netflix went down. So anyway, as we can see, I have these different titles and they all kind of blend together in this conference because the original purpose of creating the archive was to to encourage research as we are today, and also teaching. Teaching was pretty obvious that you could find clips and show the Congress and the presidency in action, but we didn't really know what we would find in research. Brian Lamb was the founder, and he wanted to see more people use C-SPAN. And we said, well, there's no collection, there's no televisions, no few VCRs, and so we started that collection, and it's been rich. The kinds of things over the years, we started right with the Robert Bork nomination, which has been a subject of many studies, and then and continuing with other Supreme Court nominations. We probably, if you look through the collection, you'll find Thomas and the recent ones of Kavanaugh and Jackson that people have studied. So it's what we always said about the archives is that it's really the long tail. Everybody finds something different to look for. And we find the same thing with the research, that people find different angles and different collections that they can look at. So let's move ahead here. This is our 11th research conference. We held every other year for now. And in the other years, we're holding a Video Research Institute every other summer. And that's a training for graduate students in video, audio, and text analysis. The registration will open soon. Bryce is a real expert in that, and he helps people. Particularly, we found that attracting younger scholars is pays off because they're looking for topics, they're looking for new things, new technology, and the video library offers that, whether it's in rhetoric, in communication, whether it's in rhetoric in the Congress, which we see a lot of studies, the presidency, even the courts, the speeches of the justices off the court have been topics. So as you can see here, we have 10 volumes of papers, and those 10 volumes from the 10 research conferences have are about 100 papers roughly. We usually have about 10 papers as we have this year. The earliest book has some topics on teaching and engagement. But since that time, it's been primarily about research, and then so each year we publish. Are now called the Year in C-SPAN Archives Research. The Purdue University Press will publish the next volume, and they're excited. We haven't yet chosen a title. And we have to choose a title and a building for each one. This one on Trump's first term was very successful. A lot of people were very interested in Trump and his rhetoric in the very first term. And you can see Power and Politics in the Media, Partisan Rhetoric. So your papers will be in the 11th volume. I think they're about December 15th. We'll publish in a year. So usually between the 15th of December and about March 1st, will be reviewing those papers. We'll have some outside reviewers. We have very good copy editors at the press, and all. The only real not dilemma, the hard part is making sure that all the tables and the charts, the tables can be typeset, but any chart that it comes from other software, we have to look at carefully to make sure they have the highest source for them. So we will be in touch about that and send you probably by the end of the week some guidelines on how to structure your paper. So we will emphasize that in all these previous volumes are available online at this reference there at the Purdue Libraries. So as you finalize your papers, don't hesitate to look through and find any other references that are relevant to your work. It helps to promote other scholarship and ideas people may not have thought about and are found, and to get more exposure for your own research as well as other people. So think about that as you finalize your sources and references. But it's exciting to see how many different ideas there are and how many different people are approaching these studies. The research has really developed as we wanted to encourage it, and it's succeeded. And we build here on many previous studies that are attracting more and more scholars today. Now, certainly the technology development has helped us grow the research up from the C-SPAN Video Library, the API, the consistency of our indexing, the text that we attach, the summaries, what we call the mentions, which is what the API brings out, which is a piece of text, video, and a reference to a person or a comment or a phrase. So your proposals, certainly your papers and your participation reflect the growth of the research agenda. You are, I hate to say after 11 years, pioneers yet as doing important research in video. And that's what we wanted to do, and I think we're getting there. Some topics that have been addressed here and in the past, rhetorical studies, what language politicians use in making arguments in the Congress, the presidency, and the campaign. People have looked at the framing of issues on abortion, women's rights, even technology, use of TikTok, and even late night comedy references, how people quote comedians in the Congress. So all this text is brought together in these studies. Bipartisanship and polarization are certainly a key topic for today. Whether we get back to bipartisanship is something we don't know yet. Certainly now in the 19th day of the shutdown, it doesn't look like it, but we don't know how this is going to turn out. It could be, as the next line says, when President Trump moves his attention from the foreign policy and says, well, we got to get a solution here and have a couple votes or something, we may see that. The rhetoric of Trump, as well as the visuals are important. I mean, if you just the contrast between the last President Biden and the current President Trump in terms of appearances, almost every day at 4:00, he appears in the Oval Office and goes on at length on issues. He's answering questions all the time. And so the number of appearances, what he says, how he presents himself to the press is just ripe for research. Women in politics, we have a couple papers, I think this afternoon yet, where people are looking at leaders in the Congress who are women, particularly Pat Schroeder, who was a leader early in the Congress. And she was the one, I don't want to steal anybody's rhetoric, but she coined the term Teflon president for President Reagan. And so that's an area where we're seeing research. Committees, interest groups, witnesses, inquiries. January 6th, the use of video in the January 6th hearings was a paper in the last volume. Supreme Court nominations and justices' speeches off the court, the nominations in the committee, and contrast between questions asked of different nominees. The Robert Bork nomination, as you probably know, changed the landscape for presidential nominations. Robert Bork wouldn't have any helpers. He stood there. He would answer any question, and went on for about 7 days. It started on Monday and they ended on a Saturday with questions. Today they use the Ginsburg rule and don't answer any questions that might be before the court, and they have a Sherpa that helps them answer and meet the members of Congress. So there's just a lot there. The new avenues are opening with technology, the large language model researcher discovering the video library. Audio analysis is becoming much more common, and that's one of the topics that Bryce addresses in the Video Research Institute. Video analysis is breaking through with the availability of both still and moving images that used to take a lot of computing power, but that's much more available today, and the images and the videos available. So there is much more. We're seeing, as you know, the rise of fake video, manipulation. I don't know where that's going to lead in terms of research. There's very strong interest at C-SPAN in being able to use the video library as truth to be able to measure any deviations from what somebody said from what we have in the collection. So like I say, follow the work of Bryce and his work here at Purdue and his leadership of the Summer Research Institute here, which I have a couple more slides about, because this is the area where you can make a reputation and get some attention from doing something innovative, including in the press that likes this kind of studies. So as I pointed out, in the Video Research Institute will be June 14th to 20th next summer, the latest strategies and techniques for video analysis. And so we invite you to think about that. It's a week-long institute. There are 300,000 hours. We provide access to that. We have exercises and projects on a daily basis. And by the end of the week, you'll get skilled enough to present something. Maybe it's just the start of an idea, but that's the idea, and that you would go away maybe and be prepared to make a presentation at the next research conference. That's some people are doing that even at this research conference as graduates of the Video Research Institute. So we want to encourage that. We provide accommodations. We provide meals, academic resources, the sessions are held on our beautiful campus in the summer, a little bit hot, but Participants, you have to provide your own transportation to and from, but and then we and get to meet. It's a small group, meet other people, and make connections for research in the future. Here's a couple pictures of some people at the outside at the fountain. So that's we want to encourage that and have you think ahead and take back to your campus the idea for other people who are interested in learning more and moving ahead in the research potential. This is sort of a look at sort of what the schedule was in audio, neural networks, Python, R refresher, things of that sort. So we want to emphasize that here. And one, I think more, and then this is some of the places where people came from, including overseas. So we're having a broader reach. And one other thing, we all have so there's a deadline. It would be the same application process that you did for your papers. You just change the front end and you apply for the Research Institute. I do want to emphasize something that happened a year ago. Sometimes you get a single moment of fame. I was subpoenaed on behalf of C-SPAN to authenticate videos in the Trump Stormy Daniels trial. I flew to New York, where I appeared in the courtroom where Donald Trump, former president at that time, was being sued. It was a once in a lifetime adventure. He sat there with his head back, eyes closed most of the time, except when the video was played. And it was kind of funny because they wouldn't announce who the witnesses were. And so the court kind of went nuts when they said the people called Dr. Robert Brown, who's he, and they all started searching on their phones to find out who I was, as it says. And his testimony is riveting. He's watching C-SPAN in the early morning. And this was the artist rendition of Trump watching the videos. The issue was whether the videos that the prosecution wanted to use came from the video library. It's a very unusual situation where normally that would be done by paper, by a deposition. But because of the animosity between the two sides, they wanted people to be there in person. So, and the most embarrassing part was, they actually almost brought me back for another set of videos. And when they went online on television, this is MSNBC, and so what do you think about this? And somebody said, well, it wasn't very gripping testimony, but he said, not every witness is a former porn star actress. So that was how they described me. So anyway, I just wanted to share that my moment of fame there as a testimony once in a lifetime in a Trump trial.